When we cannot see the entire problem, we cannot serve the entire problem. You said that in a TED Talk about 7 years ago.
Yes, that was actually the first ever public talk I gave in my life. It's the first speech I ever gave in my life.
Yeah? For real?
Yes,
You seem pretty
for
comfortable.
real. For what? Well, I look at it now, like, so I gave a
Wait,
talk.
the first thing you did at public speaking was TED?
Yes, yes. I'm kind of a go big or go home sort of gal. And you might have gotten that impression so far in the 6 minutes we've spent together. But so when I sold my executive search firm, which is, what I did for 20 years, I spent 20 years calling the most successful people in the world and trying to recruit them away on behalf of my clients. So I got very intimately connected with what actually engages people in their work and what brings out the best in people professionally and
Right.
personally. And when I sold that company to the team of women who helped build it, I had this crisis of identity. Like, who am I when I'm no longer LGO, CEO? Here's my business card. And so I was at an event, and I was the chair of the event, and I did not want to speak on stage. I didn't want to do the, like the couple minute remarks that you do before they do the charity auction thing. And a friend of mine got up and she said, "Before we start tonight's auction, I'd like to thank my dear friend, Laura Gassner Otting, who dedicates her life to philanthropy." And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, she just lady who lunched me. Like, I am a lady who I dedicate my life to philanthropy. Like, that's not a bad thing. It just was not the complete picture of who I was. And I thought, oh shit, like I better figure out what I'm going to do professionally, because this cannot be my story. This cannot be the total totality of me. So I went home that night, and because I'm super clever, Alex, I bought lauragasneroding.com, and I started blogging about things that were bothering me in the world. And one of the things that was bothering me was that we just don't solve the problems that we think we're solving, because we ask the question, how can I help? How can I help? How can I make it all about me and what I bring to the table? And when I make it all about me, I actually stopped listening to the problem. I stopped seeing the problem. And I realized, when I was having this sort of moment of righteous indignation about how we don't solve big problems, was that I did the same exact thing when I ran my company, when I was trying to sell business to potential clients. Is that I was thinking about solving my problem, which is that I needed to sell more business. I needed to make my quarterly nut. But I wasn't thinking about their problem, which is that they needed world-class talent. And when I was running my business, I shifted the question from how can I help to what needs to happen? What do you need as an organization in terms of talent to get to where you want to be? And it's the same thing when we're trying to solve big problems in the world and our lives and our companies. If we stop saying, how can I help? But we start asking, what needs to happen for success? We're then able to solve it. So, I've got a couple of kids. They're grown now, they're in college. But when they were little, I never did their homework with them. When they would say to me, I'm having a hard time in math. And I'm like, okay. If I said, how can I help? Well, first of all, I can't really help because math is hard. But how can I help would be like, well, teach me about the Pythagorean theorem or something. What needs to happen is I need to better understand how, this theory works in terms of doing this math homework. Okay, well, then that's a conversation we need to have with your teacher, with the tutor. There's clearly something that's missing in the way that you're understanding how it happens. So rather than me just doing your math homework for you today and tomorrow and the next day, and then never solving the problem, which is that there's a fundamental misunderstanding with the basics of this particular piece of algebra, we won't get to where we need to get to. So instead, if I ask what needs to happen is tutoring around that fundamental piece that then unlocks the rest of the year of math.